2 Kings 9:22. 2 Kings 9:22. And it came to pass when Yaharom saw Yahu, he said, "Is it in shalom, Yahu?" And he answered, "What shalom? As long as the whoredoms of your Ema, Isabel, Jezebel, and her witchcrafts are so many." The Hebrew word in 2 Kings 9:22 is the Hebrew word kesef, or the conjugation uksafeha, her witchcraft. How can there be peace in Israel, in this case understanding, when Jezebel and her witchcraft, her sorcery, her Pharmakia? How can there be shalom in Israel when Jezebel's Pharmakia is so abundant? Your mother is a false witness against Yahuwah because she's spreading Pharmakia and or practicing witchcraft and sorcery. Okay, so Jezebel was condemned by Yahuwah through her practice of the Hebraic understanding, which is the eternal understanding based on Malachi 3:6 and Hebrews 10:13 of Pharmakia. Again, I'm going to emphasize, it's the eternal understanding. It's not the Jewish understanding. It's not the Christian understanding. It is Yahuwah's understanding. Kasaf, sorcery. Isaiah 47:9. Go with me, please, to Isaiah 47:9. Yeshayahu 47:9. But these two things shall come to you in a moment, in one yom, one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon you in their fullness, for the multitude of your sorceries and the great abundance of your evil spells. They shall come upon you in one day because of your sorceries, Pharmakia, and the great abundance of your evil spells. Now, in verse 1 of Isaiah 47, he's speaking to Babylon. And Babylon is doing the same thing that Israel has done through the centuries, which is practice kesef, keshef, kaf shin fesofit, kaf shin fesofit, 3 letters, kesef. Very interesting. Now, the Hebrew word for money is also kesef. That's interesting. Behind some money is also abusive money, sorcery, and witchcraft. They're not the same word, but it's very similar. They're synonyms. They sound alike. Because of the multitude of your Pharmakia and your many sorceries, all your Pharmakia power of your spirits, of your spell. So again, the Hebraic concept is spirits and spells. Spirits and spells. Nothing to do with medicine, nothing to do with doctors, nothing to do with nurses, nothing to do with hospitals. And I'm going to show you, God willing, when we get everything done decently and in order, how the early believers, including the 12 shlichim, were doctors. Okay? I'm going to show you that. So what does it matter if you don't know what's in a pill? When you take a pill, some of you take a pill when you're in the hospital, some of you take a pill to maintain, you don't know what's in the pill. They can tell you anything, but you take it. But when it comes to the vaccine, all of a sudden, poison. And half the people who are claiming that it's poison are putting animal poison that kills worms in their body. That's what stupid does to you. There's no cure for stupid. Do you understand that there's no cure for stupid? Except the Torah. And what the Torah says, and the wisdom and the chokhmah that the Torah. If you're going to be consistent, at least be consistent. Say they're all poison. I don't take vaccines. I don't take pills. I don't take nothing. I have more respect for somebody who's consistent. I have no respect for somebody who takes pills when they have to save their life or their child's life. Oh, take my child, he's going to die from a fever. Let's get antibiotics and the antibiotics for my child, my child. But when somebody else's child, oh, that's Pharmakia. They're not trusting the Lord. They're not trusting the Lord. That's Pharmakia. But when it's your child, and when it's your son, oh, praise Yah, their life was saved because I took them to the doctor and I got a prescription of Pharmakia fulfilled for antibiotics. In other words, grace to me, letter of the law to you. When my child is sick, I do pills. I do anything to save their life. When your child is sick, you better not do Pharmakia. You better not do Pharmakia. It's the retarded mentality of when I contradict my own philosophy, grace to me, law to you. No, it's grace to me and grace to you. Grace to me, the same grace that's available to me is available to you. Isaiah 47:12. Stand now with your enchantments, with the multitude of your sorceries, in which you have labored from your youth, if it be that they will be able to profit you, that you may prevail. And then he goes on to talk about astrology and stargazers and monthly procrastinators, all that stuff, palm readings, seances, Ouija boards. That's Pharmakia. That's the only Pharmakia that the Hebrew nation knew. Some of you are Johnny come latelys. You get on the internet, you get on a kick, you become obsessively compulsed, and you don't stop. You become obsessively compulsed with this issue, and you will not stop. The problem with that is you're bearing false witness. And Yahuwah says, if you bear false witness, you're a liar, and you will not inherit the New Jerusalem, the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of Yahweh. You will be outside the gates with the dogs, with the sorcerers, with the liars, with the thieves, with the whoremongers. Is that what you want? And unfortunately, a lot of us, that's what's happened. We get caught in that trap and we become obsessive compulsive and we become tributaries of these lies. Well, 600,000 died from the vaccine before there was a vaccine. When there was no vaccine, well, it's a hoax. It's the flu. It's the flu. Before there was a vaccine, there is no COVID. It's the flu. Now that there's a vaccine, oh, it's not the cold. It's no longer a cold. It's the vaccine that's killing people. It's not COVID. It's the vaccine. Well, wait a second. Before there was a vaccine, you said there was no COVID. Before there was a vaccine, you said it was the flu. Nothing, just a cold. Now that there's a vaccine, now the vaccine is killing 600,000 people and they're blaming it on COVID. Hold it. Weren't you bearing false witness for 8 months to 9 months that there was no COVID? Now you're blaming it on the vaccine. So the vaccine's become a piñata, a very convenient piñata for you to change your story to justify your inconsistency. Yeah, I'm talking about you. And like I said, I'm not sharing this burden to be popular or win, to have a larger following. I counted the cost. I understand. Some of you won't understand me. You won't like me. You won't tithe. I understand. I got it. I've counted the cost. But that would be a shame on you for not being correctable. That would be the ultimate shame on you. And what happens if I'm right and Yahuwah says, depart, I don't know you because you bore false witness and you deceived your people. It was bad enough that you were a false witness, but you broke the Torah that says, do not deceive my people. You're not just deceiving the Goyim, you're deceiving his people. What happens if that's true that you've been doing that? I have no problem with somebody. I put nothing in my mouth. I don't put Advil in my mouth. I don't put aspirin in my mouth. And I sure am not going to take the vaccine. Okay. I have full respect for that. You're not lying. You're not deceitful. You're not double-minded. You're consistent. You're consistent. But don't take your child to the doctor for antibiotics, and don't take your mother to the doctor for surgery, and don't take your husband to the doctor for hip replacement. The same system that's going to pump pain medication so that they don't writhe in excruciating pain. And then when they give you a vaccine, say, we don't take poison. You do, you lying mama. You do take poison. You just like your poison in a bottle. Mm, mm, mm. Mm, mm, mm. Go with me, please, to Micah. Let the Torah set you free. Maybe some of you are not that opinionated. Maybe you're not bearing false witness. You're just confused. Okay, Yahuwah has a shaliach who's counted the cost, and he's hoping he can reach a few people so that they don't die prematurely from COVID. Number one, or number two, even worse, die from the virus of spreading a false witness, bearing false witness. Paul talked about that very clearly in 1 Corinthians 15. He talked about that very clearly. He said, if Mashiach has not risen from the dead, we're all in trouble, because not only we could eat, drink, and be merry and have sex without any restraint. He says, but we're telling people that Mashiach has risen when he has not risen, and we are found to be false witnesses of Messiah. That's the worst. Paul said that's the worst. That's the fear of Yahuwah. The fear of Yahuwah is being a false witness and blaming him and attributing something to him that is not from him. Well, the Lord doesn't want anybody taking Pharmakia. You're misrepresenting him. Did you know that the early apostles were all doctors? Do you know the Roman historian Philo Judaeus calls the apostles therapeutai? Because they were trained not just in the word of Yahuwah and the good news, but in therapeutics. Oh, therapeutics is not just therapy after the fact, it's prevention. There are two parts of therapeutics. One is prevention and one is therapy after the fact. Micah 5:12. Yahuwah talks about Israel's apostasy and following the ways of the nations, but specifically here, Assyria. I will cut off witchcraft out of your hand, and you will have no more magicians. Verse 14, Micah 5:14. I will destroy or pick up your asherim, your groves of beautiful pagan plants, and I will destroy your cities. So Yahuwah brings judgment against Israel and against Assyria in Micah 5:12 for Pharmakia. Again, the Hebraic concept of Pharmakia is sorcery, spiritism, mediums, casting spells, astrology, not astronomy, astrology, prognosticators. That's the Hebraic understanding of Pharmakia. See, you've fallen into that trap, Pharmakia, and then you put a big meme with a big needle, Pharmakia, Revelation 18. What are you doing? You starting to teach in Revelation? You didn't lay the foundation, the Hebraic understanding of Pharmakia, and you just jumped into a conspiracy theory, and you haven't stopped for 2 years. And some people who were ready to protect themselves and their families from premature death, you told them that the needle is the evil above all other needles. You can do a pill here, an aspirin there, a doctor visit there, Percocet there, thyroid medication there. But if you do the needle, you have fallen to Pharmakia. I hope Yahweh cuts off your lying tongue before you lose your own salvation. I'm talking to Bible believers. What the world does, the world does. They're supposed to be wicked and evil, but we're not supposed to be gullible and conspiratorially minded, where we fall into that trap that we can't think straight. Part of the benefits of being a believer is that you can now think straight. If one is poison, they're all poison. You don't know what's in this. You don't know what's in this. No, you have no idea. You don't know what's in this. Now all of a sudden, we don't know what's in the vaccine. Well, number one, we do. I've checked. I have it written down here, actually, and I'll get to it. Oh, they didn't tell you that part? That it's readily available now? Yeah, I checked. And guess what? There are no baby parts. Now, there is an angle with that, but that's another. I don't want to get off track. Okay, so other vaccines that were made in the past, there was baby parts used in the research and development. Okay, but we're talking about a different situation here. That's the discerning of spirits. Nahum 3:4. Nahum 3:4. The mistress of sorceries. Let's go to Nahum. That's one of those little books. Okay, but it's there. Yep, it's little, but it's there. Let's see what we can discern here. Nahum. Because of the multitude of her whoring, of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcraft. Okay? The mistress of witchcraft. By her witchcraft, by her sorceries. The Hebrew word there for witchcraft or sorcery is that same word that I shared with you earlier. That's the word kesef, Strong's 3785. Strong's 3785, kesef. The mistress of her kesefs that trains up all nations through her whoring, and all the families through her witchcraft. Behold, I am against you, says YHUH Sabaoth. Okay? And this is talking about those in Israel who practice the same things that the Babylonians practice. Okay? Jerusalem is a bloody city, verse 1. Verse 4, they're training their sons and daughters in the ways of the nations. Through witchcrafts, they become the mistress of sorcery, the mistress of witchcraft, selling nations. Okay, this could be talking both about Assyria and also the house of Judah. So that's again, the concept, the Hebraic concept of Pharmakia. Sorcery, witchcraft, spiritism. Now I want to go to a third Hebrew word, which all points to Pharmakia. It's all the same as the Greek Pharmakia, which we'll get to shortly. Strong 7081. Strong 7081. Kesem. Okay, so they're all words that are interchangeable. Kasaf, Kesef, and Kesem. They all sound a little bit alike, but they're all interchangeable. The word Kesem, Strong 7081, literally is a form of Pharmakia, of divination. Divination, specifically. We read in Numbers 22:7. And the elders of Midian had divination in their hand. The elders of Midian had divination, sorcery, witchcraft. Okay? Sorcery, witchcraft. Again, nothing about pills, nothing about the jab, nothing about shots in the arm, nothing about pharmaceuticals, nothing about big pharma. That's all Greco-Roman rethinking and projection, taking modern concepts and superimposing them on what the word of YHUH teaches. The problem with superimposing Greco-Roman thinking, if this is the Torah, And now I'm covering that in Greco-Roman thinking. Now the Torah and the original simplicity of the Torah and the message and the words and the definitions of the Torah are hidden. By my Greco-Roman thinking that I've adopted through social media, and I cover my mind and my heart with that, the Torah is no longer visible. It's good to drink from the Torah. Numbers 23:3. Let's go to Numbers 23:3. I do know the scripture, but for everyone's sake, it's good that we go there together. Bamidbar, Numbers 23:23. Surely there is no enchantment that works against Yaakov, neither is there any divination, kesem, against Israel that will work according to this time it shall be said of Yaakov and Israel what El has done. So, in other words, if we're walking in the Spirit, then the divination or the kesem and the witchcraft will not work against Israel. Okay? In Israel, that does not work. If we're spirit-filled, walking in the Spirit, Pharmakia, which is the enticement to false worship, does not work in Israel. If we stay faithful to the Torah, if we stay faithful to the basics, and we don't start eisegeting, taking our opinion about the CDC and the FDA and inserting it into Scripture or acting as though it were Scripture, there will be no Pharmakia in Israel. Whether we take medicine or therapy or not, whether we take or therapy or medicine or not, you cannot take medicine and not take the vaccine and still be a pharmacist by allowing divination, kesem, and witchcraft in your life. Let me say that again. You can denounce the vaccine. You could denounce all forms of medication. You could denounce big pharma and still be a pharmacist or one who practices pharmakia by what you allow in your life. And Yahuwah says here that he does not want any of that found in Israel. Deuteronomy 18:10. There shall not be found one in Israel who uses kesem and practices kasaf. There shall not be one in Israel who is practicing pharmakia and the pharmakia that can either be divination or witchcraft. There shall not be one who uses kesem or an observer of time. There shall not be one who allows his daughter to pass through the fire or his daughter to have the fire of kesem using those unclean spiritual practices. So do you get it? So the Hebraic understanding of pharmakia are unclean spiritual practices.